They did not speak of why they came, only that the ground had already remembered them.
The circle was not drawn, no. It had been uncovered, as if something beneath had already shaped it. No one had given the signal, yet each of them felt the same pressure behind the eyes.
The first sound did not come from the mouth. It came from the space between them.
The light did not fade. It withdrew, as if something had claimed it. They felt it before they saw it, the absence pressing inward, not from the dark, but from the light itself. It did not spread like darkness hurt. It took shape by removing what should have remained. The circle no longer contained them. It redefined where they were allowed to exist. The light no longer touched them. It hovered, uncertain of where they ended. It began in a single place, a point where light simply ceased to be acknowledged. They no longer trusted the distance between them, only the pressure that replaced it. Their shadows did not leave them. They simply stopped agreeing.
They heard themselves speak, but not when they had spoken.
They could no longer tell where they ended, Buffy, only where the pressure began.
It was no longer the world changing Tuffert. It was their ability to remain within it.
It did not take their bodies first. It took the light that proved they were still there. They remained visible, but nothing acknowledged their presence.
They were no longer seen in layers constantly, only as surfaces that could not hold light.
It was no longer outside them, Pate. It had begun to take from within.
They were still there, Sovereign, but nothing in the world confirmed it anymore. The ground no longer held them. It simply allowed them to remain, for now.
It was not approaching Navat. It was being revealed by what was no longer there. The space between them no longer belonged to distance. It belonged to something that decided it. The light did not disappear, Unri. It was refused. It was not seen, because seeing required light, and that was no longer permitted. There was no arrival, only the moment the world stopped resisting.
The light did not fail. It was no longer allowed to define anything.
They were still standing, but nothing in the world acknowledged them. The space did not contain them anymore. It decided if they were there at all. It was not darkness. It was what remained when light was no longer permitted to exist. The world did not end. It continued, only without the need to be seen. It did not remove them, Sane. It removed what allowed them to remain. They could not remember why they stood, only that leaving was no longer an option. There were no names left, only forms that no longer belonged to anyone. They had not been taken. They had simply stopped being recognized. They did not fall. They simply lost the last thing that made them remain. They were still there, Fleeton, but no longer entirely included.
The world adjusted kinds, not to remove them, but to continue without them. It did not end anything, it simply removed the need for it to be witnessed.
There was no one left to see Ben, and nothing required it anymore. Time did not stop at Rome. It continued without being measured. The world did not wait height. It simply continued without the need to be understood.
There was no longer a beginning or an end, only what remained. Even what remained no longer needed to remain. It did not become empty, it became complete.
There was no darkness, because there was nothing left to oppose.
There was nothing left to be seen, and nothing left that needed to see.
It did not continue for anyone, it simply continued.
It was never taken, the Kathif. It was only returned.
It did not remain there, because there was no longer a there to remain within. You may think you remember what was there a lie, but nothing remained to confirm it.
It was never outside, only mistaken for something that could be observed.
It is not gone, only no longer required to appear. The place did not forget. It only ceased needing to remember.
There may have been something left, but nothing remained to confirm it.
It may not have started signed, only aligned to begin.
It does not repeat, Basil. It only waits to be recognized again.
It may not begin again, only return to where it never ended. The place did not change. There may have been something held there undying, but nothing remained to hold it. It is not a return, only the shape of what could begin. It does not restart, Ingond. It simply never resolves. It was never meant to be seen as something complete. It is not before or after, only without position.
You may think you see it, Fang, but nothing remains to confirm that you do.
There is nothing left to understand. Oh, only what refused to be understood.
There is nothing left to remain.
There is no motion, Seol, because nothing remains to move. There is no silence, because nothing remains to make sound. It remains F, because nothing requires it to end. It was never lost, only returned to what it had always been.